By the time we hit 50, many of us have reinvented ourselves over and over again.
This is a perfect opportunity for them to be involved in a training program.
Sometimes we're forced to hit the reset button.
And I started thinking there's better ways to make this work. I can find something to do that I would love, and I could work for myself and reinvent myself yet again.
And sometimes we're just itching for something new.
I'd never been on a film set before, and I went out and did it. So then they sent me a check the next week, and I said, oh, really?
On today's show, Zoomer Reinvention. Zoomers were the original job-hopping generation, averaging 12 jobs before the age of 50. Whether it's bad luck or whether we just needed a change, many of us have had to hit that reset button and start our lives all over again. Today, I'm meeting 4 Zoomers who have reinvented themselves, and I want to ask them, what does it take to start all over again later in life? I'm on my way to meet Gavin Burr, a chap I met about some 20-some years ago on a film set. I was extras casting. He was an up-and-coming performer who became a stunt performer. I'm curious to know how that career affected his body and how he's reinvented himself.
I'd never been on a film set before, and I went out and did it. And it was hilarious because I just ran around with a gun for a couple of days, and then they sent me a check the next week, and I said, oh, really? Thank you very much.
Now, so you reinvented yourself from a shy kid, former athlete, into a stunt performer. And how long were you doing stunts, Gavin?
Oh, from the age of, believe it or not, I went into stunts when I was 35.
Like athletes, most stunt performers have short careers. The toll that job takes on your body is punishing. Stunt performer, coordinator, what's happened to your body through all this time?
And I know people have gone through way worse than me, but I limp because I need to limp. And I've had probably a dozen concussions by now, and a lot of knee operations. And so I've paid the price, and but I didn't end up in a wheelchair. Didn't end up with a cane or a walker, and so I still look reasonably normal, but believe me, my body feels it. You know, car hits aren't a joke. I've been hit by trucks and cars, and do you remember, those are some of the scariest ones, because people don't get hurt I've done a million fight scenes. You don't get hurt doing a fight scene. You might get one on the side of the nose or a finger in the eye or something, but invariably, if you're fighting against another stunt guy, you're fine. I could throw a punch at you. It would look as though I'm creaming you, but I would miss you by this much. And I could throw that punch 1,000 times in a row and always miss you by that much.
To me, that sounded like a challenge. I wanted Gavin to show me how the pros do it.
So just imagine you're getting ready for.
I'm gonna you mouthy guy, I'm going to take you.
You big moron.
Yeah,
say it, let it all
something
out.
Like that. I'll be like, you're done, you bully.
Okay, so if the camera's behind me,
yeah,
what it's gonna see is my punch going here, stopping here, there, okay? So I'm going to throw a punch at you,
right,
and it's going to go across your face.
Ah.
Okay. So what he's going to see.
And I react the same way.
He's going to see exactly what we want him to see, which is me hitting you there. And as soon as my punch gets here, you have to see it. When it gets to your eyes,
yeah,
you have to turn. Eye contact, cock on the trigger, and the punch is going to come from here up past your face. Okay, so we're gonna do one full speed.
Wow.
Tough girl, see how good you are.
I'm so angry with you.
You're not that tough. Oh yeah. You ready, Carmen? You ready?
Whoa.
Beautiful.
Oh.
Awesome, that's great.
And the Academy Award goes to
Gavin Burr for stunt coordinating.
No, sweetie, sorry. You were good.
Oh my God, I don't think I could do this all day. So you're 65. You don't have to retire. You can, but you're not going to, really. You obviously like it. What do you see in the next 20 years?
Getting my body slowly back in shape, because I keep the BC medical system going. Trust me, everything is slowly being fixed up, and feet, knees, especially my back, my everything. So I want to get back in reasonably good shape, get back in competing in other sports. You were good?
That was good.
So that was just what
Thank
you needed.
you. Ow!
Easy. Hurt me too, Jesus.
Well, that's the beginning and the end of my stunt career. When we come back, we meet a Zoomer who's helping the most vulnerable get a new start in life.
I started the culinary school in a homeless shelter where we used food that we generated from the suppliers. I developed a lesson plan and then we fed the individuals within the homeless shelter.
I'm on a journey to learn about Zoomer reinvention. Don Guthrie is a chef and a culinary teacher who has gone through a few reinventions in his life. Before becoming a chef, he was a ballet dancer. I met up with Don at Dice Cafe, his social purpose restaurant on Vancouver's west side.
As an athlete, your body can only perform for a certain period of time. And I always thought that when I finished my career, I would be involved in the food service industry in some manner, owning a restaurant or doing whatever. And then through being in the ballet world, I had a serious injury and I had to stop. And I was very young, and you know, for me that was the turning point. And through the rehabilitation, I started working in the restaurant industry again, more on a permanent basis, like 2 days a week, because I couldn't do a lot. I couldn't be on my feet for a long time. But during that time period, I realized that, you know, this is something that I'm talented at, I could succeed at.
Don spent the next period of his career abroad in Michelin-starred restaurants in Europe and the United States. He came back to Canada to open his own restaurant, but was met with setbacks.
Losing a restaurant when I was younger, I learned about the value of money. I know what a dollar is and how to allocate it and what it's used for. I understand the difference between what a business is and what personal income is. To be successful, you have to have the failures. But through failure, you learn all different types of things. Is it really truly a failure, or can you learn something from it?
The latest chapter in his career is Diced Culinary Center, a social purpose hospitality business with a bent towards helping the most vulnerable.
I started the culinary school in a homeless shelter where we used food that we generated from the suppliers, and then I developed a lesson plan, and then we fed the individuals within the homeless shelter. And I wanted to do something where we could utilize opportunity for individuals that were at risk or marginal, or people that were below the poverty line. For me, giving them opportunity was an opportunity for them to become part of the community and develop themselves. And then we just kind of expanded that to where we are today, where we have 2 production kitchens where we prepare almost 1,000 meals a day for at-risk, 11 different residents in the Lower Mainland. We're looking at expanding that even more so over the next 2 years.
The global pandemic has forced us to change many things about our lives. Don has noticed that many of his new students are Zoomers looking for a change.
What we're finding through COVID is that there's a lot of older population that have not, as you said, aren't happy with what they've been doing in the past, or they lost their job during COVID. They're looking at what are the opportunities that they may have, and our industry is struggling to get workers. So we're finding a lot of the individuals that were laid off, that lost their jobs, that maybe were not happy and they wanted to do something else and be more creative. This is a perfect opportunity for them to be involved in a training program where it's affordable, but it also is interactive and it's more user-friendly for them. Sometimes reinvention happens because we just need a change. Other times, because we need to be saved from ourselves.
I looked up at him from that prison floor. I was sick, going through withdrawal, and in a moment of clarity, I just said, I never want to see a kid go through this.
I'm meeting with Zoomers who have remade their lives from the ground up. Joe Calandino has not just reinvented himself, he went from gangster to youth mentor. Videographer Dean Atwell went to meet with him in Surrey.
Well, here in Surrey, we're about to meet a former Hells Angels member who shares his story on redemption and recovery.
I had been in the lifestyle for a number of years. I'm an ex-Hells Angel and also a recovering drug addict. I fell hard and fast. I ended up in the Lower East Side, also in Surrey. And as a user, you just fly between the various different areas where you know you can score, right? I was now supporting myself through selling. I was at rock bottom, lost everything on a prison floor, and there was a gentleman I grew up with named Kevin. We went to high school together, and I was doing all the wrong things, and he became a policeman for outlaw motorcycle gang unit. He had made multiple attempts to reach out to me, and at the time I was not ready. I looked up at him from that prison floor. I was sick, going through withdrawal, and in a moment of clarity I just said, I never want to see a kid go through this. He said, buddy, you can't even help yourself, but if you get clean, I'll see what I can do. It's Joe from Yobro. Thank you. As you can imagine, there was a lot of pushback. You know, for an ex-full patch member, recovering drug addict, to walk into schools and now have these discussions with kids through presentations, through activities, through programs. You know, it was a journey. You know, here we are, 11 years after the fact, now working with over 1,000 kids per week. And you're gonna start with jumping jacks?
No, we'll jog first.
Yeah, jog then.
He'll do it, he knows.
I've been with Yobro for a little over 3 years now. I found out about Yobro through Joe presenting at one of my schools, and I had a friend who was involved, and he helped me get a volunteer opportunity, and I loved it ever since. I love engaging with the youth, and I feel like we're doing a very positive impact with them, so I just kind of sticked ever since.
I was looking death in the eyes, and I did not create this journey. This journey was created for me, right? This is bigger than me. And now we have charity and giving back to kids and, you know, people that believe in what we're doing. So whether I believe there or there, there's got to be something. We do a lot of pro-social recreational activities with the kids, activity-based, whether it be wrestling, martial arts, basketball, working out in the gym. We like to stay within the school domain. Step through, cross, roll. Understood? Yes, sir. 3, 2, 1. Our core value is not only do we give back to the children, we make an investment in the children. And if we're willing to do that, the children will stay engaged. And they are truly the ones that are going to take the organization to the next level when it's time for me to say goodbye.
My last stop is with Sandra Thomas. Sandra was a journalist for over 20 years, and much of that time she spent as a travel writer. Unfortunately, COVID meant not just the end of her travel writing, but of the newspaper that she worked at. Sandra, you have been a journalist for what, over 21 years?
About 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
Was one reinvention, you were saying, of your
Yes.
past life into your new life.
Exactly.
And then you worked at the Vancouver Courier
Yes,
for 21 years.
I did.
So let's talk a little bit about how COVID affected your career. You got the call, you got the notice that it was over. How did you feel as a woman, as a journalist, as a wife?
Sorry, it's
Yeah.
still tough.
Yes.
Well, I just knew that I would never work in journalism again. Sorry.
Don't worry, it's all good. We
So,
know.
yeah, it was really hard because of my age. I knew that nobody would ever hire me as a journalist, so I had to reinvent myself.
Initially, Sandra kept the bills paid by writing content for brands and online outlets.
As I said to my husband, there's no sleeping in. I'll be up at 7 every morning.
I can do whatever
I can do
it is.
this. And I started thinking there's better ways to make this work. I can find something to do that I would love, and I could work for myself and reinvent myself yet again.
Where did that reinvention effort lead you?
When my mother-in-law died last year, we went to put an obituary in one of the local Vancouver papers, and it was going to be $3,000. And we just thought that was ridiculous. And I thought, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Sandra has since launched a website, youreverlastingwords.com.
I can either write an obituary and post it on my website, or you can write the obituary and post it on my website at a fraction of the cost of what it would cost you. And so my thought also was living obituaries. I mean, I think that you should have the final say when it comes to your obituary.
But traditional memorials aren't the only thing she's been working on.
So something I have created that's called an obituary, where people can have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
And they can also be written for somebody who's still well alive, but used for a birthday or for an anniversary or a retirement.
That's funny. Well, okay, I'll sign up.
Okay.
You can write an obituary for me.
Well, I think it's too late, Carmen, because I decided to go though with the obituary route because I thought you deserved maybe a bit of a roast.
You're scaring me right now.
So,
oh my gosh, okay.
Carmen and her younger sister Rosario led charmed lives growing up in Spain in the home of the Archbishop, who also happened to be their great uncle. Rosario says even as a very young child, Carmen was never one to take no for an answer. Just one example of that determination was the time a very young Carmen, walking with a group of her friends, came across a candy store. The kids had no money, but Carmen wanted candy and was not going to let a little thing like a lack of cash stop them from getting some. So they went into the store, each picked a piece of candy, and Carmen told the store owner to put it on her uncle's tab, and the Archbishop would come in later to pay for it. Rosario says even today if someone tries to say no to Carmen, her famous line is, "Let me start from the beginning." Carmen's also well known for her easygoing, welcoming attitude, but should something or someone displease her, she has a lethal weapon whispered in some circles as the look. It's a weapon she's used regularly when young handsome men attempt to give her unwanted attention. Just one look and those pretty boys have been known to get lost faster than your luggage at Pearson Airport. Rosario sums up her sister's determination, resilience, and confidence in one sentence. Carmen, she was born this way.
Sandra! What advice would you give another woman that's watching you at home and thinking, yeah, but I don't have this or I don't have that, I can't do that. There's always reasons why we don't want to move from our safety, even though we really want to.
You just have to really just give it a try. Just get out there, meet people, network. You just have to put that fear of rejection aside and just get yourself out there.
Well, that just about does it for the show, but we can't leave before we visit with Chef Julian Bond. He's back in the kitchen giving us healthy, affordable, and Zoomer-friendly recipes.
I'm gonna take this roast and dice it up. I'm gonna get twice as much meat as this for the same money, and we're gonna make a stew with rutabagas. Hi, I'm Chef Julian Bond. Come with me while I show you a few shopping hacks to save some money. You know, when it comes to beef and you look at the counter, it can be kind of scary, especially when you're looking to make a stew at home. Most supermarkets have the meat already diced for you. It's great and it's convenient. The problem is, if you take this diced beef versus a roast, this costs $8 a kilo more than this entire roast. I'm gonna take this roast and dice it up. I'm gonna get twice as much meat as this for the same money. So we're gonna make our beef stew today, and it's really simple. Just gonna go straight down, straight across, and with 3 simple moves, I've got diced beef that's just as good as the store diced beef. Okay, it's time to cook the beef. A little bit of the olive oil. I'm gonna put it in there and then leave it alone for the meat to sear. The reason we sear meat is purely for flavor. Add some pepper, not salt yet. You see that? That's what you want. So everything's gonna go in while the beef's still searing. These are my onions. And then add your mushrooms. These mushrooms, are just cut in half. Tomato paste. So this is gonna start coating everything. We have a little bit of oil in there, so I'm gonna do what we call a singeing of flour, just a little bit, just a dusting, and that's gonna add a little bit of richness to our stew. A bouillon. You can dissolve it in water first, or you can add it directly in there. Oh, that's so good. So what you would do at this stage, cover and let that simmer for about an hour. This is where I'm gonna add 2 ingredients, my rutabaga and a little bit of salt. I'm gonna close the lid and we're gonna come back in 1 hour. And you can see everything is cooked beautifully. Now you can add a vegetable, green beans, peas, a simple, delicious stew. You don't see this, but I'm surrounded by people and they're all drooling right now.
Reinventing ourselves can be painful, but we almost always come out on the other side smarter, stronger, and in a better place than we were when we started. And that's the show. Remember, as our Carpe chairman Moses Neimer always says, the best way to keep going is to keep going. So Carpe Diem and seize your day.